Coming up in the stack, a few students try to uncover the truth about birds. We learn how to make ice cream bars, and we try to figure out why a student has a creepy little doll. All that and more coming up on the stack. Welcome to Short Stack. I'm your host, William Theodore Odell. Short Stack is our inside view to the thoughts, passions, and interests that define the lives of our contributors. Up first, we have an interesting piece from Cody Sheridan asking an important question. Are birds real? Let's check it out.
Do birds exist? It's a key question in a movement sweeping the nation. And now it's made its way all the way to Warwick Valley High School, affecting students and staff alike.
I think birds are real because they're able to travel great distances, and they're able to fly and do a lot of stuff that other animals, I guess you could say, can do. They lay eggs and all that, so I think that's pretty real.
Dude, they're government drones. It's been years, since there's been real birds. They used to tweet through the sky and no one cared, and then just the genocide of those poor animals. They're not really animals, they're part of their own species of bird. But now the drones take the sky. And it's just amazing that there's so many of them, and it's where do they get the power from? Where do they get the power from, man?
Birds aren't real. It's just the bottom line. I've never seen a real bird.
I absolutely think that birds are government drones because, when the government shut down, there weren't any birds. And then, I didn't see any birds at least. And then, the government opened up again, I started seeing birds again.
I believe they're government drones.
Birds are fake. I don't know if they're drones or not, but they're not real.
I've always wondered if those objects that appear to be birds were really mini drones around our athletic field sent over by the Minnesink Warriors.
I've always wondered if birds were real. I guess we'll never know unless we catch one. Our next segment is a cooking tutorial on how to make peanut butter and jelly ice cream bars. Here's Christina Callahan with the scoop. Thank you, Christina, for sharing those amazing treats with us. Have you ever traveled to Mars? What would it be like? How would you get there? Here's a view for a young reader that takes on that challenge.
Rai was a very adventurous boy who wanted to be an astronaut, just like his dad. Rai had always loved learning about the stars and all the different planets in outer space. His favorite planet was Mars. His dad told him stories about the Martians who lived there. His dad often took him to the space station to see the rocket ships and meet other astronauts who've also met the Martians. The Martians were little green aliens with big black eyes that looked like giant footballs. They had 2 antennas on top of their head, which glowed a bright pink at the end of them. They even had a robot dog named Rover. His dad told him that the astronauts on Earth gave Rover to the Martians as a gift. Rai wanted nothing more than to meet them. He always begged his dad, "Can we go to Mars, please? I really want to meet the Martians." His dad often told him, "You can go to Mars when you become a real astronaut, like me." Rai and his dad went to the space station to look at the newest, fastest, and the biggest rocket ship which they had recently made. His dad told him that the new rocket was going to visit Mars. The rocket was pearl white with a light green nose. They named the rocket ship the Martian. Rai couldn't believe his eyes. Rai had gotten a big, bright idea. He was going to become a real astronaut and meet the Martians. Rai ran to the astronaut's locker room and grabbed a spacesuit. While in the locker room, he saw a magnet that said, "I love planet Earth," and he put it in his backpack. He thought it was a nice gift for the Martians. He ran back to the rocket, but there were people all around it. He needed to get the people away so he could take the rocket to Mars and become a real astronaut. Rai had gotten another bright idea. He started to jump up and down and point in the opposite direction. "Aliens! There's aliens over there! Look! Come see!" Rai shouted. Everyone was shocked. They all ran to see the make-believe aliens. This was Rai's chance. He ran into the rocket and sat in the pilot's seat. He turned the rocket on and put on his seatbelt. "Hello, welcome to the Martian. Which planet are we going to today?" asked the rocket. "Wow, this rocket talks? Let's go to Mars, please. I'm going to be a real astronaut," said Rai. "Prepare to take off in 3, 2, 1, blast off," said the rocket. The rocket left the space station and flew straight into outer space. The rocket flew past the stars and straight to Mars. As he got closer to the planet, he realized that he didn't know how to land the rocket. "Martian, I need help. I don't know how to land," said Rai. "I'm sorry, I don't know how to land either. Prepare to crash land," said the rocket. Rai fastened his seatbelt and held on tight. The rocket crashed into a giant empty crater. Rai took off his seatbelt, grabbed his backpack, and got off the rocket. The front of the rocket was crushed. "Oh no, oh no. How am I going to get home?" Rai exclaimed. He looked around, and there was nothing but craters, rocks, and the broken rocket ship. Beep, beep, beep. Rai heard a strange sound coming from behind the rocket. Beep, beep. He heard it again and ran to the back of the ship. It was the robot dog Rai's dad had told him about. "Rover, can you help me fix my rocket?" asked Rai. "Beep, beep, beep," Rover said and waved for Rai to follow. After a long walk, Rai started to see strange-looking people and houses in the distance. The people were exactly as his dad explained. They were little and green, with big black eyes that looked like giant footballs. They had 2 antennas on top of their head, which glowed a bright pink at the end of them. It was the Martians. Rai grabbed the "I Love Earth" magnet from his bag and gave it to the Martians. The Martians were very excited for their new gift. "Martians, can you please help me? I broke my rocket and need help going home," Rai explained. Their antennas glowed a brighter shade of pink, and they smiled. They followed Rai to the rock. They placed their hands on the rocket, and their hands started to glow. The rocket was fixed. The Martians handed Rai a shiny space rock as a gift. Rai placed the rock in his backpack and boarded the rocket. The Martians waved goodbye. Their antennas and hands glowed as Rai left to go back to Earth. He couldn't wait to go back home and tell his dad all about the Martians. Rai was now a real astronaut.
The Martians on Mars is just one of the 6 stories that creative writing, art, and video production recently produced. A reveal party is planned for all of the writers, artists, voice actors, and editors involved. Don't go away. When we come back, we'll take a look at students' top underrated video games. Short Stack will be right back.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad. Do we have a gun?
Why do you ask that, kiddo?
Welcome back to Short Stack. I'm your host, William Theodore Odell. Nowadays, many people play video games. However, not everybody keeps up to date with every video game released. Here's Joe Giuliano with his top underrated video games.
There are thousands of games out there, some big, some small, but they're starting to come out at a rate where it's impossible to hear about every one coming out. And there are plenty of hidden gems that might have flown under your radar. So here are 4 underrated games you may never have heard of. 4. Hyperdimensional Neptunia Rebirth by the Idea Factory. The Neptunia series is an odd one, to say the least. It's a JRPG series where you take control of the title character Neptune, who's the personification of the Sega Neptune, and the goddess Purple Heart. The plot involves a very literal console war with other goddesses who represent other consoles. The gameplay gets a 7 out of 10. It's your typical JRPG combat with a twist or two. The music gets a 6 out of 10. It's good, but nothing really memorable. Story gets a 7 out of 10. It's a little slow moving for my taste, but it's fun and has enough intrigue to keep me going. The graphics are 6 out of 10. They were good for their time, but now they just look a little dated. Number 3. VA11 Hall A Cyberpunk Bartender Action by Sukiban Games. VA11 Hall A, or as most people call it Valhalla, takes place in the year 2070X. In Glitch City, you play as Jill Stingray, a young woman working as a bartender in a chain of bars. The gameplay gets an 8 out of 10. For the kind of game it is, it does its job well. It throws enough curveballs at you or people to tell you their orders cryptically. Along with that, having to balance your money for your needs and wants, it's a surprisingly engaging experience. The music gets a 9 out of 10. I absolutely love the feeling it gives off. It sets the dystopian Glitch City perfectly. The graphics are a 10 out of 10 simply because of how unique the art is. I haven't seen another visual novel do something similar to this quite yet. And the story gets a 9 out of 10. I love the characters and the world. Nothing seems out of place, and it's all very believable. I can clearly see what the city streets of this world would look like and what the people are like. The world building and characters are just done so well. 2. Hyperlight Drifter by Heart Machine. Hyperlight Drifter is a 2D action RPG in an 8 and 16-bit style with a neon aesthetic. The story has 0 dialogue, it's all visual storytelling and left up for player interpretation. We don't even find out the name of who you play as, you can only assume you're the Drifter. The gameplay gets a 9 out of 10. It's fun, quick, and just gives you an amazing feeling while you're playing. The music really gives you the feeling of a ruined technological marvel of a world. With how the instruments are given new life through a synthesizer, it's just a 10 out of 10 from me. The graphics are also amazing. 10 out of 10, I just love the way this game looks, its use of color and scale, it's just a beautiful world that they've created. And the story, I'm not going to rate because it's all left up to player interpretation. For some people it could be a 0, for others it could be a 10. It's all up to you. 1. The Blaze Blue series by Arc System Works. Blaze Blue is a series of 2D fighters that takes place in the city Kajitsuchi, with a load of interesting and one-of-a-kind characters. The controls are very fluid and natural, very easy to learn, but extremely difficult to master. Each character has a unique playstyle, and it's just done very well. It's one of the fastest fighting games I've played in a long time, so it gets a 10 out of 10 from me. This story is an interesting one with a lot of twists and turns. The first game is told from 11 different points of view, each character having his or her own story. The problem is, it feels like you're being tossed into the middle of the story. For that reason alone, I can only give it a 7 out of 10. The music in this series is very rock-centric. It always gets you pumped for battle, and the character themes are all done really well, reflecting the personality of the character perfectly. It's a 10 out of 10. The graphics are typical for your average 2D fighter today. Pixel art sprites rather than 3D models. It's a solid 8 out of 10. So those were 4 underrated gems you might not have heard of. I hope at least one of them grabbed your interest. Or maybe I missed all the games you think are underrated. Feel free to yell at me in the comments about that. For WVTV, I'm Joseph Giuliano.
A special thanks to Joe for teaching us about the hidden gems that lie within the video game industry. Our last segment is an interesting one from David Abb. It might be better to just show you it instead of trying to explain it. Here's David's The Baby.
What the? Dan, what are you doing?
Hiding.
From what?
The baby.
The what?
The baby.
Dan, why are you underneath my desk?
He's all man.
Okay.
You gotta protect me, man. You gotta protect me.
What? No, I need to finish a project right now that I'm working on. I can't help you right now.
Boring.
Listen, give me like 20 minutes, and then I'll protect you from the baby. But you gotta leave me alone so I could actually finish this project.
Back! Every man for himself.
Well, I'm not sleeping tonight. I mean, what was that? And why did the doll... David, you need help. Well, that does it for this episode of Short Stack. Be sure to catch this show and others like it on the WVTV YouTube page. And if you want to be featured on Short Stack, there's always room for a creative artist like you. From WVTV, I'm William Theodore Odell. Catch you next time in the Stack.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it. First impression. My way in. But here's the thing. Can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Can one piece of paper really tell you my whole story? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or how anytime there was an opportunity, I was the first one to step up. Because I wasn't gonna let my life, my circumstances dictate who I was gonna become. And all of that determination, the commitment, the drive, that's me. And that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume, discover new ways to develop great talent, like me.
Every year, humans habitually gather for what they call the summer barbecue. Unfortunately, leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire. Now, could it be?
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
By George, it's Smokey Bear. These friends are going to learn a thing or two about extinguishing hot coals. Indeed, it looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good stir. Next, another long quenching drink for the hot coals. Chilling. And finally, a close feel to confirm they're safe to leave. Smokey has this mastered.
Cool? Okay. Yeah.
Bang on, Smokey.
Hey, Smokey. Catch. Oh. My bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.